Imagine grabbing a book off the shelf, reading it in your group time, and having all of your children captivated, engaged at the same time. Well, that's what I want for you. So I've taken my 15 years of experience, my Bachelor of Early Childhood Education, and my absolute love of literacy and learning, and I boiled it down and put it into this one video, especially for you. I've broken this down into 6 components. The first component is purposeful book choice. Now, don't pick up a book if you don't know why you are picking up that particular book to read. Books can be divided into 4 categories: concept books, message or meaningful stories, interactive and engaging stories, or literacy-rich text. Let me explain each one a little deeper so you know exactly what I mean. Concept books. Concept books are there to teach you a particular concept. Think of it like dinosaurs, bugs, numbers, alphabet, colors, seasons, Anzac Day. They're there to teach you a particular thing, so your comprehension is going to be quite different. Maybe it's an interest that children have had within the classroom and you pull out that book and you start to read it. Maybe it's a project that you're all working on, and again, you've pulled out the book and you're all learning this concept together. The second category the books fall into is message or meaningful stories. These are stories that explore a message and a concept, but it's through a story. So concepts or life lessons that can be taken away from the story are things like feelings, emotion, kindness, friendship, safety, but they have a story. So the children have to follow along with the comprehension of the story and take away the life lesson at the end of it. Third category is interactive and engaging stories. These are stories that almost call out on children's participation. These are books like the Please Don't Turn the Page, because children, for the most part, are going to be screaming yes every time we ask the question and say, please don't turn the page. They'll be saying, yes, please turn the page. There'll be ones that have a simple rhyme in it where children will try and guess what that word is. There will be noises in it as well. So a bear, and they might roar along with it, or it might ask a question in there and children will be pointing and asking. It directly engages the children and makes them participate within the story. The fourth one is literacy-rich text. These are stories that have literacy patterns, rhymes, repetition, prediction built into the story that allow children to learn literacy concepts and also participate with them. Wonderful authors that tap into this all the time is Julia Donaldson. There will always be a phrase within her story that gets repeated throughout the pages. And once the child has heard it a couple of times, they will start to memorize and learn and join in with you when you read it through. Linley Dodd with her Harry McClary series is another one where she will go back and repeat all the names of the dogs, and the children will, by the end of the book, be saying the dogs' names along with you. Think about your story like green eggs and ham. I do not want them here. I do not want them there. I do not want them anywhere. By the time you've said that 3-4 times, children are chiming in and saying that along with you. These are literacy-rich texts that engage children and teach them about prediction, repetition, and rhyme. Sometimes you pick up a book and it falls into 1, 2, or all of these categories, and that's fantastic. A story that falls into 3 of these categories is The Very Cranky Bear. The Very Cranky Bear has a wonderful life lesson at the end of the story. It's engaging. It has very simple rhyme, just a few sentences on each page, and the children can very easily predict what that second rhyming word is. And children tend to roar along with the bear and other noises that come along within the story. So that's a really good example of a book that covers more than one category. If you pick up a story and you're not really sure why you've picked up that book, you don't know what the purpose of reading this story is for the children, children are definitely going to pick up on your feelings and what you're thinking, and they are going to be unsure along with you. But Sarah, you might be thinking right now, sometimes I pick up a book just because it's entertaining. I need to group the children together and I just need to read a story and I just want to entertain them with a book. Well, you've also named a reason why you're picking up that story, for entertainment purposes. And that is another wonderful reason why you pick up a book. But you've made that conscious decision ahead of time. And you've also figured out what is the entertaining part of that story. Let me explain. One of the storybooks that I like to carry along with me for those times when I quickly need to grab everyone into a group and read a story that I know is going to make everyone laugh and everyone engage is Piranhas Don't Eat Bananas. I do this because I know that 9 times out of 10, children are going to laugh between the interaction between Brian and the other fish. I also know that the word bums is going to get a lot of laughter out of it. So I know this ahead of time. It is an entertaining story. I'm not doing it for really any other reason other than get the children grouped together, resettled, restructured, maybe before we go out to lunch, go off to play outside, or maybe before I have something else to tell the children before we go into inside play. I know ahead of time what are the entertaining parts of that story. The second concept is bringing a story to life. I want you to watch this book being read and I want you to tell me what you think. This is what they put in. A frog, a beetle, a worm, a bat, and a spider. Abracadabra! They all stirred the cauldron as they chanted their spell. Frog in a bog, bat in a hat. Snap, crackle, pop, and fancy that. Boom! There was a flash and a bang. Something had gone horribly wrong. Bess, Jess, Tess and Chris all changed into mice and Mog was chasing them. I'll have to change them back next Halloween. Would you continue to listen? Think about how you currently read stories right now. Does your voice change intonation to show different emotions? Do you read at different speeds to highlight different things happening in the story? Do you use hand gestures to emphasize different elements in the story, from things that are really small to really big? Do you mimic the hand gestures off the story pages to bring your story to life, or do you do different voices for different characters? You don't? If you read in monotone, anything that you say will feel boring. Children at this age are still processing language. Your non-verbal skills are just as important as your verbal skills. Any emotion that you put into your story is going to be contagious, and the children are going to feel that. Third concept, be present with the children. Think about when you repeat and share a story with your friend. 100% of your focus is telling your friend, sharing, and getting that point and message across to your friend. Now, when you have a group of children in front of you, it's very easy for your mind to wander. Why is that child lying down? Why is little Jimmy tapping his friend, and should I intervene or was that be the last tap? When's lunch coming? Is it on time? Should I wrap this story up? Should I be asking questions? Are the children losing interest? Have nappies been done? Did I say that dinosaur name correctly? I could keep going on, but you catch my drift. Your focus shifts from the children onto yourself and all these other things that you need to keep up with. And the children, well, they feed off your vibe. They feed off whatever you're thinking about right now. And so if you're not thinking about them, they're going to stop thinking about you. And I get it. Sometimes it's really hard to have your focus solely on one thing when there's so many different things going on within the classroom. But just be mindful that if your brain starts drifting, so will theirs. Fourth concept, preview before you read. Picking up a book that you have not read before can be a recipe for disaster. Many times there are things that crop up that can throw you off guard. Things like unfamiliar concepts to children, unfamiliar words, and sometimes when you haven't had a moment to think about it, it's really hard to break down those concepts or words in a way that the children understand. And if you've ever randomly picked up a Dr. Seuss book, the amount of times I have tripped on pronunciation over those names. In my early days, I was handed a storybook by a child that was her favorite story at home. And I picked it up and I started reading it to the group, not knowing anything about it. And the story, and I cannot remember the title, is a book about a wolf who hypnotizes sheep to become part of the pack and then eat them. Many children were asking it, what does hypnotize mean? And in my early days, I just couldn't break down that concept in a way that they were understanding it. I kept getting these very puzzled looks on their face. Finally, and with a lot of gratitude, the early childhood teacher that I was working with, who was also my mentor, took over the story from me and was able to break down that concept for the children to be able to understand it, which was great because it was a hilarious book. But that's a really good example about when a concept or word pops up and you just don't have the knowledge to be able to break that down, and it became a really big part of that story that we couldn't get past. The valuable lesson here is even if you're handed a book or a book was found or swiped off the shelf, take a few minutes and just very quickly thumb through it, even if it's just to see what the language is like, how many words are in it, how many pictures are in it, what type of category do you think it might fall under, just so you know ahead of time and you're stepping in there with a little bit of preparation. Fifth concept, slow it down. However slow you think you're reading your stories now, I guarantee you can read it slower. Remember, these children haven't been around on this earth for a long time, and they're all at different stages of not only learning how to speak, but more importantly, processing the information that they have, that they are receiving from you. They're looking at your lips, they're looking at the storybook, they are trying to maybe block out sounds around them that are disturbing them, and they're trying to follow along with the story. If you read the story too fast, it makes it really hard to follow along, and a lot of times they miss chunks of the story because they haven't processed the information that has come their way. The slower you can read the story, the easier it's going to be for children to process it. Sometimes, if the sentence had a lot of information in it, I'll read it again, just to give everyone time to process it. Along with that, sometimes I might even tap on each word or the character that the story or that sentence is about, just to help connect everything together. My last concept is asking questions that add value. Asking questions in a story is invaluable with adding information and different dimensions to your story, but only if you ask the right questions. So, the question is, how do you ask the right questions? Questions can be broken down into 4 levels. Level 1 is directly perceived here and now. These things involve exactly what you see on the page right now. Where is the dog? What color is the girl's dress? Yeah! What is the boy eating? Yummy. These are questions that can be answered by looking on the page, and they are your level 1 questions. Level 2 is indirectly perceived. You still have to answer the question by what is on the page, but it requires the children to think or describe a little bit more. For example, if a picture was showing a girl crying with ice cream on the floor, you would say, "Why is the girl crying?" They would have to piece together the ice cream on the floor was dropped out of the girl's hand, making her upset. Level 3. These are language-based reasonings. The answer isn't visible on the page. The child has to use language or memory to answer this question. So, for example, where is the little girl going? Maybe the story has just said the girl is off to school, but we haven't seen the school yet on the page. The girl is just in the car. And number 4 is beyond the here and now. These are your hypotheses. These are questions that sometimes don't even have right or wrong answers. They're there for the children to extend their thinking. So sometimes I might even say, what's going to happen on the next page before I turn it? Just so children can start thinking about what they think might happen. Predicting, explaining, problem solving, imagining. These are all the skills that come into level 4 questioning. Sometimes as educators, we ask questions to the group and they are the wrong questions. They are wrong because maybe no one can answer it. It's at the wrong level. So we have to start lower. Sometimes we ask the wrong questions because they're too basic and everyone is answering them, and it gives no thought process and it adds no real value. If everyone can see the dog, stop asking level 1 questions. Bump them up to a level 2. Why is the dog in the house? Maybe they are keeping out of the rain and they want to stay dry. Then bump it up to a level 3 question if you can see that everyone can easily answer level 2 questions. This is a really good way for you to find out where the majority of your class is in terms of processing language. And then you'll know where you need to take your class next. These levels were created by Marianne Blank. She came up with Blank's 4 levels of questioning. If you want to level up your questioning skills and understand where your children's language processing really lies, then you need to watch this next video right here. It will change the questions that you ask and it will add more value to your group time. So until then, have a wonderful day and I will see you in the next class.